Carol. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this sitting of the local partnership meeting for Erskine, Inchinnan, Bishopton and Langbank. Obviously it's an online meeting, so if you can use the raise hand feature, otherwise if you just raise your hand to any of these items, then more than happy to sort of bring in where I can, okay? So is there any, I do know that there's an apology in from Councillor McLaren this evening. Is there any other apologies?
Yes, from Councillor Mullen as well.
Okay, that is great. Thank you very much. Is there any declarations of interest or transparency statements in relation to today's business from anyone? Oh, okay. The first item is the minute of the previous meeting, which was held on the 28th of August. Just want to check if people are happy to note. Yep. Okay, thank you. Item 2 is the Erskine, Inchinnan, Bishopton and Langbank Local Partnership Update and Budget Monitoring Report. Kerry, you want to come in on this at all?
Sure, I'm happy to talk you through that. So we've got the budget update paper. You can see that the awards that were made have all been paid for Celebrating Renfrewshire and for local partnership and the Celebrating Renfrewshire. We've got a couple that we're just waiting for the payments to be released. As far as I know, all the paperwork has been received from them. So that's all the kind of funding taken care of. And then we've got a little update about the Sustainable Communities Fund. So we thought it'd be worthwhile just updating all the local partnerships about what's been funded in their area, and also it's an opportunity to say, like, I think there's only been one award in this area, so it's an opportunity to say if people want to learn more, then this is a great chance to say we'd want somebody to come along and do a little bit of a talk about the Sustainable Communities Fund. So in Erskine, Inchinnan, Bishopton, Langbank, there's only been one award, and that is from Inchinnan Development Trust for the landscaping architecture at the India Tires playing fields, and that was for 24,725. So that's a good amount that's been distributed, but if you compare it to other local partnership areas, there's obviously a little bit of a gap of maybe interested groups to come forward. So if anybody wants a special presentation, please bring it up. And then from that, we've just got the applications. Would you like me to move on to them?
Yes, that'd be fine, Kerry. Oh, sorry, can I just ask that people make sure that they're... I'm just going to mute. I think I see who it is. But that's fine. Yes, that'd be good, Kerry. If you could just go through the applications, then that'd be appreciated.
So the funding that remains in the local partnership budget is 27,639, and we've received 3 applications, and the value of the applications are for 5,970. So one from Bonnie Bishopton, one from Erskine Arts and one from Erskine Pantry. So with each application, I've just kind of had a read through of them myself and kind of preempted any questions that the local partnership might have. And that's not to say if there's any other questions, please let me know and I can go back as well. But just to try and get ahead of anything that I think that you might want to know. So if we start off with Bonnie Bishopton, they're looking for £1,420 to install library benches at the library and the community centre. Now, I think they've already installed benches historically, so they've got a bit of experience. I think they're quite colourful and they're well used, so they're wanting to add to that. I went back to Bonnie Bishopton just to ask a little bit about the furniture anchor kit that they've got, the engraving and text, and the actual budget that they'd put in, to ask is that reflective of what they've spent before, and it was. And finally, just to ask if they'd had any conversations with anybody about permissions to install them. So I think they'd spoken to one of the councillors that's not here. I think it might have been maybe Councillor Mullen about it, and also dropped an email into the planning inbox just to ask if there was anything that they would be able to advise. I've not had anything back. I also messaged a colleague over in the libraries as well, so I've not had any information back from that, but I did kind of put out a couple of messages. The next application was from the Erskine Arts. So this was about a kind of creative writing kind of workshop they would like to do. So one of their participants had approached them and said that they were really keen to lead on something. So they had done a bit of consultation with people who they're connected with already at Erskine Arts, as well as other people in the community, to ask if there would be interests, can I gauge a bit of interest, and they believe there will be. So there's 2,600 for right here, right now. And that's a 6-month programme of creative writing workshops, but it's going to be very much led by the participants. So they don't want to be too prescriptive about what that project would look like, but it would be over the course of 6 months, and they would hope to produce like a kind of showcase or spotlight afterwards. I asked Erskine Arts if that would be led by somebody who's already involved in Erskine Arts, or if it would be freelance, because the majority of the costs are for a leader for the workshops, and that's an external, so that'll be a sessional worker. So I thought that would maybe something that you'd maybe ask as a local partnership. And then finally, the last application was from Erskine Pantry. Oh, sorry, do you want me to stop just now? Sorry.
Yes, just since it's a question that she's got, I'll bring in Councillor Early Nicholson. Thank you.
Thank you. It was just a question in terms of the proportion of costs that go to an external person to deliver the workshop, which is kind of almost like £2,000 for the facilitator. I'm not quite sure what the title is of the person, but for the facilitator to do that. And I wondered if as part of that, is there any opportunity, if we've got people that are interested in the community, to take on the facilitation of this on an ongoing basis rather than it just stopping when a facilitator goes? Because if it doesn't, then it's just an ongoing cost that you would need to find. So there's something for me that's about, if it works in a community, is anybody being encouraged or trained or promoted in terms of being able to facilitate the workshops themselves? Thanks.
So that's kind of more about the sustainability of it beyond,
yes,
yeah, beyond that. That's certainly something I can go back and ask about.
I think it would be worthwhile to just on the back of that. I think that is because ultimately we want it to be an investment in communities. So if that is something that they could look to try and develop someone within the organisation to be able to then continue it, maybe not in the same way or in the same size or the same duration, but for it to be an offering for the community to continue, then that would be something that would be helpful, I think, for the investment that they're looking for. Not that I'm preempting any application at second. Okay, are you happy with that, Councillor Early Nicholson?
yeah, that's fine, thanks. Yep.
Okay, Kerry, you want to move on to the last application?
Sure. So the last one is from Erskine Pantry. So it's an application for £1,925.80, and that's for a healthy cooking pantry recipe book. So what they would like to do is create a recipe book all about kind of healthy cooking, family meals and such, and also send that out with, so I think they're going to make 100 of them, and then what they're going to do is get the ingredients for people to actually make one of the recipes to go along with the recipe book, so it's a way to get people engaged as well. So the Erskine Pantry is a new organisation, so they came from EBI, I think it was called before, so they're newly constituted, they're set up, they're volunteer led, they're based in Bergarin, I want to say, is it Bergarin? No. Yeah, Bergarin, it's Bergarin Centre. I popped out to see them, so they've got a great kind of facility, and now what they're trying to do is reach beyond the fair share kind of work and more about community engagement. So this application's came in. I think the kind of further questions that I had was just to ask the group to give us a bit more information about how they're aligning to the local priorities. So there'll be additional bit of information, and they were able to quite evidence the need of the organisation, so they could talk a lot about the work that they're already doing and the footfall that they're getting as well. So, and also like a big thank you, because I think they had quite a lot of support to get to where they are just now from people within the local partnership. So that's the 3 applications, and that's some of the kind of information that I'd gathered so far. If there's any other questions that I might be able to answer now or go back to, I've got Councillor Early Nicholson's question already.
Okay, thank you very much, Kerry. Sorry, just in me sort of not paying good focus in my chairing, realised that item 2, we didn't actually agree item 2, which was obviously the summary of the financial position of the local partnership. So can I ask from members, can we agree this to be noted for item 2?
Agreed.
Thank you. And then item 3, which is these applications, which obviously we've been through here. I'll just take each one in turn, since there is only 3 of them. It's easier for us to have a discussion. So the first one, which is FR1184 Bonnie Bishopton. I think, you know, Kerry's obviously done her due diligence and checking information out. I think that as long as the individuals like planning and to do the library, as long as they're content, can we just caveat that as long as they're content with it, that we're happy for that to be awarded? Jerry, you want to come in at this point?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Campbell. It was just to check, Kerry, the best person for them to contact is Graham Ternant in Neighbourhood Services. Graham Ternant deals with all the kind of permissions. There's a form they'll have to fill in and send in for a review and approval for that.
So as long as it meets that formalised process, are members in agreement for this to be awarded? Yes. Okay, we're getting thumbs up and nods. Thank you very much. So for the next application, sorry, I'm just scrolling. There we go. Next application, which is FR1185 Erskine Arts, right here, right now. Obviously, there's been the question raised by Councillor Early Nicholson, just more about an investment into actually training of some variety, or for people to take some learning from it, for this to then have a continuance for the community. On the proviso that we get some feedback about what plans they plan to do with that, is everyone content that that is awarded, and that we ask for them to do positive outreach across the whole local partnership area when the dates of when that's going to be running will be known? Because I would quite like for the advertising to go out across Langbank, Bishopton, Dargaville, and Inchinnan as well, for the whole partnership area for something like that, because it's, I know that places have creative writing opportunities, but it's not one that I think I've seen in our area in recent times. So I'd be quite keen for us to make sure that we try and outreach as much as possible for that opportunity, especially given it is going to be for a duration of time. Is that reasonable? Is everyone in agreement? Agreed. Okay, thank you. And the last application, which is FR1186 Erskine Pantry. Councillor Nicholson, you want to come in?
Thanks, Chair. I'm slightly confused about this application. I understand the idea, but what I don't understand is the way it's been put together. It sort of starts off with unusual goods are delivered or donated as the reason why they need to produce a recipe book, and then it sort of moves on to healthy cooking, etc. Then it sort of moves on again to £800 required to provide ingredients, which go into the book, which then sort of makes me think about the whole idea with regards to the foods that I understand that are donated to something like a food pantry are quite dynamic. They're just what is donated at the time. It's just what is there. So the concept of encapsulating that in a book doesn't chime, because a book's very static. I've had experience this in my past myself. Generally speaking, books like this end up not being used because they aren't dynamic. I had a thought about this, where would it not be better for them to be able to print out recipes as and when it's tailored to whatever products they have on the shelves, and tailored to particular individuals, the things that they like. That's more likely to encourage them to use it. But I just think for myself that a book just doesn't work in this day and age, a cooking book. I don't know about anybody else's thoughts on that one. It's more a case of matching what they want to do with the food that they have coming through, donated. And then there's apps, online apps that generate recipes. You put in the ingredients that you have, and it generates the recipe for you, and then you give that out with the food that somebody's taken. That's more likely, I think, to be successful, and plus the fact they can match the demand that's coming through. So I'm just thinking that the line of a better way that they can engage with their clients and be able to respond to the food that's been donated and tailor that to people's likes and dislikes, you know. So the bottom line is, I think there could probably be better use of this money. It's just my opinion on it. And as I say, my past experience says when you produce a book or something like that, they do tend to just not have a long shelf life, if that's another way of putting it, because people just generally move on to their own way of cooking food, their own way of eating food and consuming it. So as I say, that's just my view on this one. I think it's a lot of money for what it is. And given it's a food pantry, they probably could, I think, approach this issue a bit better with regards to supporting individuals with cooking. So as I say, that's just my views on it. I'm quite happy to take other people's views. I just don't think it's a particularly good use of that resource in this particular way with regards to long-lasting outcomes, if that's another way to put it. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nicholson. Maggie, you did have your hand up. I just want to check if that was, you want to come in?
No, it was, yeah, I was just wanting to agree with Ian there on the book not being dynamic enough for what I think it is that they're trying to do. You know, a lot of folk now, it's you put your ingredients into AI, you know, and it tells you here's a really good recipe, you know, to make with that. So I think there's better ways of doing it. I like the idea, but there's better ways of doing it, is my opinion.
Okay, thanks very much, Maggie. Kerry, you want to come in?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of the points that Councillor Nicholson made. So when they're talking about quite unusual ingredients, I think the example they gave me was that they had received quite a large donation of orzo, and a lot of the clients wouldn't take it because they didn't know how to prepare it. And when they talk about the cookbook, if you have a wee look at the budget, what they're actually doing is printing the recipes themselves. So I think they were looking at maybe trying to externally get a printer to do it for them, but I think in the meantime they were thinking about printing the recipes themselves, and a lot of the recipes that they have received have been submitted by food bank users with their own, who are kind of saying this is what I've used from my packet and this is what's worked well for me as well. So it was just to add that in because I wasn't sure if it was clear in the application, but it was mentioned when I did go and visit them as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Kerry. I mean, I suppose the question I would have, and I don't know if this would even be suitable enough for it, is that we look to award a partial award, because if they're looking to get a print out and then utilise that to do what something along the lines of what Councillor Nicholson's suggesting would be the more feasible option, because it might be that, you know, the ingredients are what they are, you know, and they put in the bag that they're, you know, what they're taking. But I do agree with the point that Councillor Nicholson's making about the ingredients are donated in, so why do they need to purchase foods in relation to this project? It doesn't quite marry up. So I'll bring Councillor Nicholson back in just to give him right to reply back to what's been said there, and then I'll bring in Councillor Erskine Nicholson. Councillor Nicholson, do you have anything else that you want to say at this point? No, okay. Councillor Erskine Nicholson.
It was really just to reiterate exactly what you said yourself there. What I'm not sure about, if the whole purpose is to utilise spare food that they're being donated from other places that are not used. So if thinking about it from the green agenda and not wasting food, why would we be paying £750 to buy more food? I'm not quite sure. And for me, it is utilising what's available on the day and what unusual or usual foods are brought in to the pantry and go and buy what's in there rather than, I'm not quite sure why it does say ingredients for sample recipe to a company and it's £750. So we're then buying more food. I'm not sure why that would be. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, I mean, could I suggest that we can, it doesn't look time related, can we continue this one? Yep. And get more information from them, because what was added there was a wee bit more insight into the users are collating their own recipe book. And it'd be interesting to know what format that's going to be in, or whether it's something that can be adapted and changed as it goes along. It could be something that's like a printed folder for themselves, you know. So I'd be interested in knowing if that's what the plan is. It's a collection of recipes that the users are doing themselves, based upon what's donated into the pantry, and how that can continue to evolve in that sense. So I think there's probably just a bit more information required on the project itself, rather than the way I read it. It just says books, a cookery book. Going to a printer's, I think it works out about £6 or £7 a book, which is not too bad. But I'd be interested in knowing a bit more about the project, if that's possible, Chair.
That sounds reasonable to me. Are we in agreement that we continue this item, but want to offer positive feedback to the applicant, though, to say that we are supportive as a local partnership area of what they're looking to achieve as their outcome, but we feel that the use of modern technology might be helpful to them in this circumstance? And also, we just want a bit more information about how they're going about sort of, about this whole sort of idea from their service users as well, to try and make it something that has a bit of longevity attached to it, to make it so that it can evolve, so that it's helpful to those that are accessing the service. Al McNiven.
Thanks, Chair. It was actually just in reflection on Councillor Nicholson's point there about apps, etc. There might be an opportunity for the group, if it's a users group, to maybe work closely with maybe some of the digital teams to look at how maybe supplement the book with some information about, don't forget, you can go online, use this app, here's a good app to try, blah, 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 blah. So a wee bit of information about using digital technology for that sort of work, but then backed up by the wonderful bits of recipes they're maybe creating themselves. So there's maybe an opportunity there to combine both things, a wee bit of digital engagement within the book and the book itself. Just a thought, Chair. Thanks.
No, that's great. I'm very grateful for that. Like I said, I think that we all like the idea. It's just we feel like this could evolve to something that could be a lot more sort of useful in the longer term, and actually support the group more as well. So there's a bit of work to be done there. Are we happy that we continue this application just for those aspects to be covered off, and it will come back at a suitable point in time? That is agreed by all members. Thank you very much. Okay, sorry, I'm just scrolling back up to the top of my agenda here. Okay, so item 4 is the Greater Renfrewshire and Inverclyde Action Group. So Kieran Ferguson has been sitting there patiently waiting to speak. So we're very, very grateful to have you at our local partnership meeting this evening. So the floor is yours.
Oh, thanks very much for the opportunity. I'm going to share a wee presentation that I've kind of put to so you can follow what I'm saying. And when I do this, it'll cover all the faces. So if anybody has any questions, please just shout out, or I'm willing to take questions at the end. So hopefully this works. That's it. And if I go slideshow. Hello. Aha. Is it showing on screen yet?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So again, thanks again for the invitation to attend your meeting. I work within economic development at Renfrewshire Council, and I coordinate the Greater Renfrewshire and Inverclyde Local Action Group, otherwise known as GRI LAG, who manages the community-led local development funding, and otherwise known as CLLD, just for another acronym to add to the list, which is funding distributed across the rural areas of East Renfrewshire, Renfrewshire and Inverclyde. The LAG itself is made up of a group of volunteers who are representatives of the community, third, private and public sector, and they all live or work within the GRI LAG area. The funding is to deliver community-based activity, and the project proposals must meet one or more of the Scottish Government priorities or the LAG priorities. So Scottish Government's priorities at the moment is eradicating child poverty and growing the economy, tackling the climate emergency and improving public services. And the LAG's priorities, some of which mirror them, but there are a couple extra: encouraging and supporting rural communities and villages, addressing climate change, increasing and sustaining local businesses, which includes micro businesses and social enterprises, address inclusion, diversity and equality, and rural poverty issues where possible. They like to see proposals that create specific opportunities for young people and which foster partnership working. So the funding is allocated annually from Scottish Government. It's generally always a mix of revenue and capital funding. So revenue costs, as you're probably aware, but are typically operating costs such as wages or costs for consultations, feasibility studies, or any work that can be considered as preparatory to test the viability of a future project maybe they have in mind. Capital funding is typically fixed assets, equipment, furniture, small-scale building works, etc. So to be eligible to apply, the applicant organisation must have an organisation bank account. The proposed project must be either located within the LAG eligible area or delivering benefit to the communities within that. The projects must be community-led and aim to assist in the delivery of the priorities I outlined a minute ago. So, all projects have to be completed within the programme timeframe, which is annual, and generally the deadline is set 3 or 4 weeks before the end of the financial year. The next slide, hopefully you can see that clearly, but the kind of central map there shows the eligible boundary as it is at the moment. Probably Langbank and Bishopton most relevant to this group tonight, but that can be viewed on the website if you want to study that in more detail. And so in terms of the application process, the initial step would be to submit an expression of interest. And this can be done through the GRI LAG website, which the address is there. So this is really to summarise your proposal, highlight any benefits of it, along with the estimated total project cost and the amount of grant being requested. If the expression of interest is approved, then a full application form will be sent out to complete by a given deadline. We also ask for copies of a constitution if a group has one. It's not necessary, but if there is one, we'd like to see it. We ask for the bank details and 3 most recent bank statements or evidence if it's a new account that's been set up. We require confirmation of match funding if that's required for delivery, or an expected date when the decision is going to be made on that. If any permissions are required for the delivery, such as a planning permission or building warrants, we would expect evidence to show that this is in place. And I can be contacted throughout all the stages of the process to help and guide people. So on top of those documents I've just outlined, we also ask that a detailed budget is provided, along with multiple like-for-like quotes to kind of show best value for costs. Or if these can't be evidenced, then we would require justification why not. And it's generally always because of bespoke items. Sorry, I'm going to choke. We also ask for applications to submit evidence of need and demand and the community support behind the project. If you're a Scottish charity, then we would ask for evidence of the status and your VAT registration number if you have one. Applications are scored by individual LAG members separately, and then they come together at a meeting. They're scored against an eligible and technical criteria, which are bulleted below: the strategic fit of the project, the aims and objectives, return on investment, or the expected return on investment, how it meets equality, the partnership and collaborative working, and engagement and the demonstration of need, support and additionality. Often the funding is oversubscribed, so decisions do sometimes come down to the score values, the risk of the project, the geographical spread of the benefit, and its ability to complete on time. The decision-making process can result in an application being approved in full, meaning an offer of grant will be sent out, and if the terms and conditions are accepted, then projects can start. Sometimes they'll be approved in principle and the LAG will apply conditions along with it. If there is time, the LAG may allow applicants to do further work on their application. And unfortunately, sometimes projects are rejected due to various reasons. Claiming is generally always done in arrears. The claim forms are submitted by stating actual costs incurred, and we always ask for evidence of the audit trail. So this includes invoices that have been paid, payroll evidence, etc., and copies of the bank statements showing that costs have been claimed and paid. The LAG is fully aware that some smaller groups are find this process an issue when it comes to cash flow. So if this is raised early on, then we can generally do something to award some funding up front to allow to get the ball rolling. I put this together just to kind of show the various types of projects that have been supported in the past. So this, the top one there, is Howwood Park Pavilion, where the LAG supported the renovation and the recladding of the exterior, which allows the building to be open and used by various community groups in Howwood. The bottom picture there is a project supported. These were two community events called Light Up, and it was in Inverclyde, where really this was just aimed at harnessing creativity, encouraging the use of the rural resources and the green space. The middle picture there represents the LEAP feasibility study, which the LAG supported to determine the viability of taking on the old bank in Lochwinnoch, which LEAP intend to create into a community hub. And the last photo there represents a organisation called Cycling Without Age, who were supported to purchase 2 trishaws, which really provide older adults and people with mobility impairments the opportunity to enjoy recreational trishaw rides. And these are they're piloted by a group of local volunteers. And my last slide is just a recap on my email contact address, should anyone wish to get in touch or know any groups that might have some projects in mind that we could work towards getting in shape for next year. That's absolutely fine. And the LAG website there if you want to have a wee nosy. But more than happy to take questions just now, and I will try and answer as best I can.
Okay, is there any questions at all for Karen at all? Councillor Nicholson.
Hi, Karen. I think you know what's coming here.
Hello.
You're skipping over that map a bit quick.
I'm on it.
Right.
I'm on it.
Just for everybody else's information, I was in contact with Karen a while back about the anomaly of Inchinnan not being included in the rural aspect of the what was used to be the leader funding, I think. But Linwood was, I think all the 2 villages in Renfrewshire, I think it's Inchinnan and Elderslie, are not in it because they're sort of, Inchinan's lumped in with Erskine, and I think Eldersley's lumped in with Johnson. So it sort of cuts them out for no apparent reason. And I think the chat had with Karen was we've inherited those maps from previous. So I just wanted to check in with Karen if that's still on track to have a look at the maps again. And because I think Inchinnan in particular is slightly hard done by with this. When towns like Linwood and I think Gourock are in, and big towns like Eaglesham and that are in, but this small wee village here, it's just and these amended. That's I'm just re-emphasising a point, Karen, which you know already.
I mean, I am minded to agree. and it has been raised in the past, and unfortunately for this and up until now, we've had to kind of create the boundary according to a specific criteria that's given to us based on the data zones. However, I have heard it through the grapevine there may be something in the pipeline that is going to amend the criteria that we use to determine these areas. So it's going to be up for discussions at LAG meetings, and the LAG are committed to try and amend areas. So some areas might disappear from the eligible boundaries, other areas might appear. But yeah, I understand the point and it has been addressed.
Yeah. All right, thanks. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Karen, are you okay to stop sharing the presentation? Sorry, just that's fine.
Yeah.
You're right. It's just I thought just in case you start looking at emails or whatever, we're all busy looking at them. No, thank you very much, Kieran. Yeah, I think that I don't think anyone would be in disagreement if I said that this local partnership area takes a viewpoint that if that criteria can be reviewed to allow for a whole subsection of our communities to be included in it. Our perspective, if it helps with the conversation, Karen, you can take back that at our meeting at the local partnership that we have made our feelings clear, that in agreement with the point that Councillor Nicholson has made there, that we're on the campaign side for Inchinnan. Maggie will take that to the community council to meet the point as well. Okay.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation and your time. Please feel free to leave, given that concludes your business today. I don't want to take up any more of your evening than I have to. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much, everyone.
Okay, take care. Okay, the next item of business is item 5, which is the dates of the next meetings over the year. The most important one for the next one is that it's going to be the 12th of February at 6:30 PM via MS Teams. So we're just going to continue with that format at this time. Okay, can we agree item 5?
Yeah, great.
Great, thank you very much. I'm just going to double check that I've not missed anything else. So that was the date next meeting, and you'll all be glad to know that that concludes the business for tonight's meeting. I thank you all for your time. Okay, take care.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.